Hey, welcome to the fascinating world of citation using MLA style. Today we'll be learning to create and use in-text citations and works cited pages. I'm sure you're excited to get started, so let's jump right in. There are two kinds of citations. In-text citations tag ideas from other sources within your own writing, literally in your text. They help your reader easily distinguish your ideas from the ideas of other people, protecting you from plagiarism. They also guide your reader to the second kind of citation, in-citations. These appear at the very end of your paper where you have space to write out the full publication information for other sources so that your reader can find a copy of them in the library, on the internet, or wherever you found them. If you've ever visited Wikipedia, you've seen citations before. Every Wikipedia article includes in-text citations, which are little numbers after another source's ideas, called footnotes. Footnotes are part of Wikipedia's citation style. If you, the reader, click on Wikipedia's footnotes, they guide you, the reader, to Wikipedia's in-citations, which include full publication information for each source in the article, so that you can find the source if you want to read it. Wikipedia's citation style calls its in-citations references. Other citation styles may call their in-citations a bibliography or endnotes or Works Cited pages. The citation style required for my classes is MLA style, which stands for Modern Language Association. Other classes may require different citation formats. Why are there so many different styles, many students ask? The short answer is that different styles emphasize different information. So disciplines have come to prefer certain styles over others. MLA style is usually used in the humanities because it's well suited to citing literature. The good news is that once you understand the basic idea behind citations, you can look up how to cite sources in any style that's required for your classes. Unlike Wikipedia, MLA does not use footnotes for in-text citations. Instead, it uses the first word or words of the source's works cited entry. If this were your works cited page, these exact words underlined in red would appear within your writing in your paper to tag ideas that you used from that specific source. It would look like this. An in-text citation comes directly after the idea that you use from another source, whether that idea is a direct quote of someone else's words or whether it's a paraphrase of your own words in your own words of someone else's idea. Using the first part of a works cited entry as an in-text citation makes it easy for a reader to flip to your paper's back page and look up that source because entries on a works cited page are listed alphabetically according to the first word of their entry. You must use both in-text citations and a works cited page. If you leave out in-text citations, you aren't tagging another source's ideas, which is plagiarism, and you aren't telling your reader which entry to look up on your works cited page. If you leave out your works cited page, you aren't helping your reader to find the source that you used. Your works cited page is supposed to look a certain way. This is called formatting. Read the notes in the left sidebar as you study the parts of how this page looks. It should be in the same font as the rest of your paper. 12 point Times New Roman or Cambria are great fonts to use. Your last name and page number should appear in the right top corner. The title should be centered. Everything should be double spaced. The first line of each entry should be flush with the left margin, and then any subsequent lines of the entry are indented. And it's all alphabetized by the first word of entries. Formatting is important because each bit of formatting says something different to your reader to help them find your source. You should always create a works cited entry for a source before tagging that source in your paper because the first word of its entry will tell you how to format your in-text citation. Always put the author's last name first and first name last. Use quotation marks on titles of short works like articles, essays, poems, or songs. And italicize the titles of long works like books, films, websites, journals, newspapers, etc. And again, always create a works cited entry for a source before including it in your paper. The first word of its entry will tell you how to format your in-text citation. To create a Works Cited entry, you can look up how to format your exact type of source at the Purdue Online Writing Lab website, owl.purdue.edu, or you can use an online citation creator like easybib.com or whatever comes with your Microsoft Word software, but be sure that your resulting entry is correct. You'll still need to know the parts of a Works Cited entry and their format. Here is an easy-to-use list of those parts and the order you should place them in your Works Cited entry. Just plug in all available information from your source. If one bit of information doesn't apply to your source, if your source doesn't have an author, for example, then skip that bit and move on to the next bit of information that applies. If you're citing a regular old novel, you'll list the author, then skip to the title of the container, which is the title of the book. Then you'll skip other contributors because there's no editor on a novel, or at least not one listed. If you're citing an academic journal, you'll put its volume number and everything here. If you're citing a website, you'll put its URL, its web address, here, and so on and so forth. Remember to use quotation marks on titles of short works and italicized titles of long works, and pay attention to the punctuation here between items. Some are periods, some are commas. You should use that exact punctuation in the items in your entry as well. Using this list, you can create a Works Cited entry for any kind of source that will help your reader find it. A work inside a book, like a short story, poem, or essay. An online work with no page numbers, like a website or a newspaper article you found online. Or a work with no author listed, like a government publication. Again, always create your Works Cited entry before making your in-text citation, because the first word of the entry will tell you how to make your in-text citation. So finally, let's move on to creating and formatting those in-text citations. Read the notes in the left sidebar as you study these in-text citations. You already know that the first word or words provided, usually an author's last name, must be the first thing that appears in the Works Cited entry. The author's name may appear in the sentence itself or in parentheses following a quote or paraphrase. But page numbers should always appear in parentheses, not in the text of your sentence. Here are some common situations you might run into and how to handle them. For works with no page numbers, like websites, use only the first item appearing in its Works Cited entry. You don't have page numbers to use, so don't make any up. Just use the first word of the Works Cited entry. If a work has no author, use a shortened title of the work. Many academic journal articles especially have very long titles. Just use the first few words to help your reader get to that Works Cited entry. If a work has multiple authors, use the first author's last name and replace all the other authors' names with the Latin phrase et al., which means and others. And if you have a source that's cited within another source, use the phrase quoted in to indicate the work you actually consulted. Only cite the work that's actually in your hands. Finally, make sure that your citation is in the right place with regard to your sentence's punctuation. Always put parenthetical citations directly after another source's idea, but before any other punctuation in your sentence, like commas or periods. The only exception to that is for quotes longer than 4 lines, in which you'll indent the entire quote, remove the quotation marks, and then cite after the final period. Hey, you aren't expected to know or remember everything right away. You're supposed to look this stuff up. Review this video as much as you need to. Visit owl.purdue.edu and get help from an online citation creator. Remember that your main responsibilities as a writer are to tag other people's ideas in your writing and to help your reader find the source you used. It's worth your time to do it right so that you can avoid plagiarism and be good to your reader. Best of luck.